We're gonna do the school first, then any questions as it relates to the school, I will defer back to the school board. And then we will take a brief intermission, and then we'll go right into the town. Same thing, we'll read the warrant articles, any warrant article that has monetary value, and then we'll open it up for questions afterwards. Does that work? Okay, so if you could all just please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
So there is a sign-up sheet for our guests, so if you could, it's going around, if you could just sign it, that would be very much appreciative. Okay, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do a brief introduction for all department heads, and we'll start at this table. So Tim, if you want to go, and please speak loudly because this is being recorded.
Timothy Silvernail, Budget Committee.
Chris Fowler, Budget Committee.
Lisa Toll, Budget Committee.
Elaine Bovier, Budget Committee.
Vicky Cassidy, Budget Committee.
Roger Staley, Budget Committee.
Kathleen Coliseer, Select Board.
Diane Adinolfo, Select Board, and representative to the Budget Committee.
Scott McDonald, Select Board. John Childs, Budget Committee.
June Key, Budget Committee.
Mark Solomanto, Budget Committee. Keith Claus, School Board Rep to the Budget Committee.
Okay, and then we'll go through. So Armin, if you want, all department heads as we go around, introduce yourselves.
Jeff Ackman, School Superintendent.
Jody
Yes.
Moore, School Board Chair.
Amber.
Amber Wheeler, Business Administrator.
Andrew Hall, Assistant Superintendent.
Eric Lambert, Fire Chief.
Doug Fowler, Police Chief.
Chad Phillips, here, Road Agent.
Okay,
Judy
Louise.
Silva, Moderator.
Yes.
Louise Latenda, Chairperson of the Supervisor Checklist.
Okay, and Jack, did we get you?
No, Jack Finley, Superintendent for Allenstown School District, and I returned the sign-in sheet over there for anybody that missed it.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll jump right into the school. Again, I'm only going over warrant articles that have a dollar amount or a tax impact or a financial impact. Okay, for the school, so that would be on page 1. You should all have received the public hearing for the Allenstown School District. You all have that?
No.
Okay, there are some up above. They're on the table.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're on page 1 of that. So Article 1, the average cost per pupil for the 2024-2025 school year as calculated in accordance with RSA 187:75-IA was $25,289.82. The school district proficiency scores obtained by the Department of Education for the 2025-2026 school year are ELA proficiency, 48%, math proficiency, 35%, science proficiency, 38%. Shall the Allenstown District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted to the warrant, or as amended by vote for the first session, for the purpose set forth therein, totaling $15,024,829. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $15,025,875, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Allenstown School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The school board recommends and the budget committee recommends. Warrant article number 1, operating budget article, does not include the separate warrant articles. So again, if you have questions on anything, please jot them down and we'll address them after all the warrant articles have been read. Article 2, shall the Allenstown School District vote to approve the cost items set forth in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Allenstown School Board and the Allenstown Paraprofessional Association for the 2026-27, 2027-28, and 2028-29 fiscal years, which called for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. In fiscal year 2026-2027, the estimated increase would be $99,535. 2027-2028, the increase would be $76,309. And 2028-2029, the increase estimated would be $34,941. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $99,535 for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required
Already on here. Name's already there.
to the
Yeah, download it.
and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $99,535 for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. School board recommends, and the budget committee will be voting on this after this meeting, because this was tabled because we didn't have the information when we last met at the budget. Article number 3, shall the Allenstown School District, if Article 2 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 2 cost items only. Okay, Article 4, shall the Allenstown School District vote to approve the cost items set forth in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Allenstown School Board and the Allenstown Education Association for the 2026-27 and 2027-28 fiscal years, which calls for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. For fiscal year 2026-2027, the estimated increase is $174,263. For fiscal year 2027-2028, the estimated increase would be $126,730. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $174,263 for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends, and again, the budget committee will be voting on this following this meeting. Okay, then we go to Article 6, to see if the Allenstown School District will vote to establish an employee health benefits expendable trust fund under the provisions of RSA 198:20-C for the purpose of funding health insurance benefits for current and retired employees of the Allenstown School District, and further to appoint the Allenstown School Board as agents to expend from said fund. Majority vote will be required. The school board does recommend it. The budget committee has not voted on this. Article number 7, to see if the Allenstown School District will, contingent upon the passage of Article 6, vote to raise and appropriate the sum of up to $75,000 to be added to the Employee Health Benefits Expendable Trust Fund previously established. This sum to come from the June 30th unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026. No amount will be raised from fiscal year 2026-2027 taxation. Majority vote is required. The school board does recommend. Article 8, shall the Allenstown School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the School Building Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund previously established, with such amount to be funded from the June 30th, 2026 unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026. No amount will be raised from fiscal year 2026, 2027 taxation. School board recommends. Article number 9, shall the Allenstown School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the high school tuition trust fund previously established, with such amounts to be funded from the June 30th, 2026 unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026. No amount will be raised from fiscal year 2026, 2027 taxation. And the school board does recommend. Article number 10, shall the Allenstown School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the Special Education General Expendable Trust Fund previously established, with such amount to be funded from the June 30th, 2026 unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026. No amount will be raised from fiscal year 2026, 2027 taxation. It is recommended by the school board. Let's see. And that's pretty much all of the warrant articles as it pertains to dollar amount. So the ones that, are listed clearly, no amount will be raised from taxation means that they're taking these funds from unassigned fund balance, so it's surplus money. So if there is no surplus money, these articles do not get funded. So, that being said, Keith.
Yeah, Luann, just let the record show that Jeff Benegas and Trish Caruso showed up at 9:05 and Deb Carney showed up at 9:10.
Got it. Thank you. So, that being said, are there any questions of the school warrant articles? Because we have administration and school board staff here to answer those questions, and I will defer directly to them. So yes, could you please state your name and speak loudly?
Mike Frassinella. I kind of oppose the school budget because I just looked at the sheets, and you're spending 30% of the budget on special ed. Until you can resolve that problem, why we have so many children that are coded for special ed, this budget is being wasting our tax money. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone from school board or SAU administration that would care to address that? Is that a comment or a question? Comment. Anyone want to add any feedback to that?
Well, I'll just say that special education is federally mandated. And it's unfunded federally mandates that we have to go ahead and do by law. We have no control over that. If you look at the budget, 61.59% of our operating budget is non-discretionary funds. Special education leads that aspect. So we can't do anything at the local level about that, right? There are specific guidelines and laws we have to follow, along with the coding of students on that special education track, for lack of a better way of saying that. To get things changed has to be done at the state level and or the federal level. And there was a meeting Monday night about funding for education in New Hampshire at PA, and my understanding, I couldn't make it because I had the flu, but my understanding was it was 20 people there to talk about education and how the funding is going to go ahead and do so. There's not a lot we can do about special education. In fact, our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do about funding special education.
Okay, and Keith, could you just make reference to the contracts, the teacher and the parent contracts, approximately how many employees this represents?
So, if you don't mind, I would actually, Jody, if you don't mind for me to defer to you on that, because you were part of the negotiation, and I wasn't at the ratification meeting for the contract, again, with the flu, so I'm unfamiliar with what happened with the contract.
Well, I think the question really is how many certified staff fall between the teacher contract and how many staff members fall within the para contract?
So for teachers or all certified staff, because it's not just teachers, it also includes your nurses, your guidance, library, those sections, there are 38. And then for non-certified staff, between para and then there are some other non-certified staff outside of para that are covered. It's about approximately 37 employees that are covered by that contract. Slightly less than that because we have about a handful of those that we consider not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. So when we've had our board meetings and we discuss increases over and beyond collective bargaining agreement, it covers those like 6 individuals. So,
Okay.
so about 31, I'd say.
So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to everybody, because we go in voting for these contracts, that first one for, 99,000 for the para, that's the para one, right?
The
Yes,
first
the
one is
para. That's split up, between 37 employees, and then the teacher contract is split between 38. So it's not just one person getting all this money, it is split. The para contract this year is, I believe, a 3-year contract.
Correct.
And the teacher contract is a 2-year contract. Okay.
Is
And
there
I-
any overlap in that personnel, or is that like 75 people total? Or is there some people that, I'm gonna say double dip on this?
No, there's
No.
No.
There's 75 people total that,
Yeah, yes.
About-
They're either in one category or
Or
another.
the other.
They do not cross over.
Right. And the other thing, just for clarity, so that people know what it is they'll be voting on, the Employee Health Benefit Expendable Trust Fund, can you add some background information as to why this trust fund is being established?
so last year, just about every school district in the state got hit with a bill for insurance, right? Because the insurance rates went up. Allenstown's wasn't too bad. We were able to cover that in surplus money that was left over from last year's 24-25 budget, right? And so with the health insurance, not really knowing what's gonna happen with it, with the federal government still debating back and forth what's happening, the board felt that it would be good to put money away, so if we got hit with the bill again in the future, we could cover that. We were lucky enough to have surplus to cover that last year, but just like with special education, just like with the tuition, just like with technology, it's better to have that kind of cushion in a savings account, for lack of a better term, so that if it does come up, we're not taking money away from general education and having the students suffer, or having a special meeting and asking the town to raise more money in taxes to go ahead and pay for these things. Because again, health insurance costs are really out of our control for the most part. We had a very healthy staff, so our share wasn't that bad. But that's what the purpose of that is to protect the taxpayers from us going to ask the taxpayers for more money to pay for insurance.
Right. And I just want to point, yes, could you state your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Kelly Prue. So on number 4, you're saying you're raising money for salaries and benefits, and health insurance is a benefit. So what's the difference between the two? And how much are you going to put into the trust fund? Is it going to be our taxpayer money?
No, so it's gonna be surplus money that's left over
Okay.
at the end of this, excuse me, at the end of the school year. And then, the difference is, the contract is for what we're told the insurance costs are. But if the insurance costs go up, right, the town pays X amount, the employee pays X amount, right? If those costs go up because a lot of people went to the doctor, half the district had a child or had cancer, and those things skyrocketed, well, then the cost of the insurance goes up, right?
The insurance isn't raising your rates during the year. You have a contract for at least a year, correct? I mean, that's what I had where I worked.
Yes, the rates do not go up during the year.
Correct.
But with that said, you could have individuals that change plans. So you may have somebody that is a 2-person, and then they have a child, and now
Right.
they've got a third
They have a family
person.
plan.
Right.
I mean, I understand
So
what you're saying.
there will be changes in monetary value in regards to
I
that.
understand that. So my question is, why are we asking for 174 there, and then on number 6, we're asking for more? Because benefits are part of it. I understand what you're saying. That's just my comment.
If I can just clarify, Jody Moore. So basically, the way that our health insurance works is we are in a pool through school care. So they recently did an assessment, and that's where we were hit with an unexpected $200,000.
I saw that, yes.
So this trust fund that we're forming would be formed out of surplus money only, so there's no tax
Okay,
impact.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yep, and
Okay.
it's just for if we were assessed again and there was unanticipated costs, that trust fund would be utilized so that we don't have to go to the taxpayers to raise additional funds.
That's what I needed to know.
The $174,000 is just, it's the contract, so it includes the teacher's pay, their benefits, their FICA, everything's included within that contract.
Not health and dental, unless part of the contract changed, something that had to be specific to health and dental. So there would be a change in what the current is to what the proposed is. But other than that, it's not, if there's an increase in health insurance, it doesn't affect that particular
Okay, that's
part
what
of
I
it.
wanted to ask. Thank
Yeah,
you.
they're two separate things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the only other thing that I will add to this is all these warrant articles, starting with that expendable trust fund for health benefits, all the way through, that say, you know, there's no impact to the taxpayer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that these warrant articles will be funded in accordance to how they're listed in the warrant.
Correct.
That's correct, in order in which they appear.
Number 6
Okay.
doesn't say that.
Okay,
Can I ask one more question?
sure.
And I don't want anybody to shoot the messenger here, okay? Why are we paying retired benefits when we have Medicare and, I mean, I know where I work, I'm retired and nobody's paying my health benefits, I'm paying my own, so. I'm just curious as to why we do that. Can
I'm
anybody answer
gonna,
that?
school board, SAU, anyone wanna chime in on
I'm just asking
that?
because most corporations or places, when I leave my company and retire, they are not paying my health benefits. So why are we paying retiree health benefits? Nobody has an answer?
I don't have an answer, so I'm gonna defer it back to the school.
No, I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying, corporate America and around the world, when you retire, they don't pay for your benefits. That's all I'm asking, saying.
Actually, I don't believe Allenstown actually does
Allenstown
that.
is a district that pays for it.
We do have some in our SAU.
Well, you have it listed in the trustee fund. It says retired benefits. It says it right there. Under the provision,
Oh, in the article.
for current and retired employees. of
Yes,
the-
so should anything change within a collective bargaining agreement, I added it to that, so if, down the line, if the school board and the union decides they want that to be part of their agreement, I wanted to make sure that it was included in this,
Okay.
so that we didn't have to revise the intent of the article. And we are doing this article in a couple other of our districts, in which those districts do have that, so I just wanted to cover all districts to be safe.
Okay.
Allenstown does not.
But Allenstown
Okay,
currently
thank you.
is not.
Can I ask an additional question
Yeah,
based on that?
could you just state your name, though, please?
Lisa Rampus. If, I understand what you're saying, and that makes good sense. However, I would maybe suggest that you put a timeline. For how long? Forever? For how long will, if Allenstown did have retired employees that were being covered by health insurance, should that happen in the collective bargaining agreement, what time frame would that include? Just a suggestion.
Well, that would be noted within the collective bargaining agreement, not within this one article.
I understand, but I'm just saying what you had said about, we're just trying to cover our backs. If you could put a time frame, that could be helpful, again. If relevant.
If I may speak to that, Jack Finley,
Yes.
Superintendent. In some of the districts, they do have the time frame listed as part of the bargaining. So sometimes it's 5 years after retirement, sometimes it's less. So,
Thanks, Jack.
Yep.
Any other questions as it pertains to the school? Yes, Mike?
Mike Frossenella, one curiosity about the school budget is typically the default budget is lower than the proposed budget. Could anybody explain to me why the default budget is $1,000 more than the proposed budget?
I was gonna say, for the second year in a row, Mike, the school board really worked hard with administration, to look at where we could save money. I do believe now that we've gotten rid of AES and ARD, there's not that cost. Last year, we had electrical and plowing costs and different things with those. And so, we're just really working, the school board's really working to be where we need to go ahead and be with what the school needs to operate, right? Now, keep in mind, there's 2 contracts that are up, right? That's not included in that default budget. That's not included in the school budget because they're new contracts. So if those pass, that's gonna go ahead and make that change. But default budget is just what we have to go ahead and include with contracts and agreements and so on and so forth, right? So the school worked really hard to say, this is what we need. No fluff is involved in that, right? To be really conscious with the taxpayers and the students.
Any other questions?
Elaine?
Yes.
Hi, Scott McDonald, Selectman. Our student enrollment, our public school enrollment in this state has gone down almost 25% since 2001, which I think common sense begs the question, do we have fewer teachers? Do we have fewer paraprofessionals? I believe the answer is no. Why not?
Well, when you look at decreased enrollment, typically you're not getting that big decrease all in one grade level. So unless you have, 10 students or 20 students leaving in one grade level, it doesn't mean that there would be a reduction in staff in the teacher's classroom.
I don't believe there's been any reduction in staff anywhere.
Actually, that's not actually true. In our actual budget, we do have a couple staff that was reduced from the operating budget, which is one of the reasons why the operating budget is less than the default. We've kept them in the default because we're looking to potentially look to see, okay, we've made these reductions, what do they mean? How does it allow us to still adequately educate our students? And if not, it allows us to put it back into the budget, and look for that employee again in the following year if the default were to pass. So we actually do have some reductions in our budget this year. For next year, I mean.
Okay, but since 2001, and I don't think you can argue with the stats, we have lost almost a quarter of our students. All right, it doesn't matter if it happens in 1 year or over 25 years. Do we have a staff reduction that reflects the loss of those students? That's probably the better way to ask that.
There has not been any significant reduction in staff over the last several years.
But you're speaking statewide, Scott, and I think it's important to know our enrollment is actually up.
What?
Our enrollment, we haven't seen that trend since 2001.
Your enrollment's been going down for years. Now, you may have an increase 1 year, but that trend has been fewer students overall.
Overall, yes, but like this year over last year, we're seeing an increase in students.
What's the increase? And I'm sorry, I don't know that number.
Number of students?
And we're just talking about Allenstown here?
Yeah. This is just Allenstown, yes. That I'm
What is our student to class to student ratio now? Teacher to student ratio, excuse me. Is it not? Is it about 12 to 1? Is that the ballpark?
No,
Higher than that.
it's significantly higher than that.
How significantly higher?
Maybe 50.
Like 15 to 18 to 1?
Yeah, I would say.
Yes, state your name, please.
Jim Bovier. Pembroke will be voting next week in March, to allow students from other towns that are not in the 5 towns now to come to PA or the elementary school. So if the kids, if it passes, the enrollment to the academy could go up a lot. And what that means is it's going to affect the area towns that are sending, because our tuition costs to Pembroke should go down from them. They're talking about adding 25% of the kids to go to Pembroke schools. It has to pass the vote at town meeting. And if it does, then they're gonna be called they're accepting, there's a special name.
Open enrollment.
Open enrollment. We don't have it. Pembroke started it, and it's gonna pass the budget, and the high school will be hit with a lot more kids, because Pembroke Academy has come a long way.
That vote is actually on, January 27th.
It's
Of this- They're having a special.
It's a special
annual
meeting.
on the 27th of January, and then I believe we also put it on the ballot for the March meeting as well, just in case, for whatever reason.
You're looking at a big enrollment. The high school has come a long way, and their sports program, is one of the best. And the kids are gonna come.
Yeah, we are looking at creative ways to bring more students because of the exact reason that was just discussed. Enrollment is going down. Pembroke Academy's enrollment has gone down significantly. I've been here almost 11 years, and in the time I've been here, the enrollment's almost cut in half. So it definitely has declined dramatically. By having the option for open enrollment, we're hoping to entice students from other districts to come in. With that, there's also a caveat in the fact that once the students are in, we are looking to do a 0% withdrawals. So it's not like it's gonna be this in and out. It will hopefully bring students in, entice to keep them, looking at adding additional programming, things that are marketing to students to get them interested to come to Pembroke and make them, it to be the place to be. So we really are looking at all different options to make it a desired, school choice.
So the school choice in Amber, is it pretty much for Pembroke geared towards attracting more kids to Pembroke Academy, or is it their elementary and middle schools as well?
Elementary and middle school as well. There'll be a cap on how many per school, so that we don't overfill the building, but we are looking at all three schools. The warrant article does encompass all three schools.
And tuition would come from the sending towns?
It would, and they would pay 80% of the tuition. So while it may not be the full amount, we're at least bringing the students in, it'll draw the tuition rate down because we're dividing it through
More kids. So more kids at the academy could be a savings to Allenstown.
It would be, yeah.
A big savings.
Absolutely.
And I believe at our last budget committee meeting about this, I had asked the same question if our elementary was looking into that, and you had said, we are also looking into doing that here in Allenstown as well, because the double-edged sword there is, if Pembroke Elementary is taking in new kids, some of those could be Allenstown children that go there, and then that hurts us, we're losing those revenues. So we wanna be competitive also at our elementary stage, so I'm glad to hear that the school board is looking into doing that.
But there would be criteria for acceptance of these children, correct?
Correct, and there will be caps, and there will be a warrant. We as well will have a warrant article for open enrollment here at ACS.
Next year?
No, I think this year.
This year?
This year.
In March.
It's just not on the warrant yet before you because we were finalizing the legal language, and so it just literally came through yesterday. So these packets were already printed, and it was already on the website, so instead of causing confusion, we thought we would just notify you tonight that on the deliberative session, you will see that warrant article on the warrant.
Any other
We're moving
questions?
in a good direction.
Yes, John?
I just wanted to make sure that we have the numbers. So in 2015-16, we had a population of 471, and for 25-26, we have a population of 490.
So over the last 10 years, it's gone up by the,
Yes, we trended on
Yeah.
this specific.
There hasn't been a dramatic decrease in enrollment for Allenstown.
cool. All right, any other questions? Yes, Vic?
Victor Rampus, just curious as to the collective bargaining agreements, what percentage raise that the pairs and the teachers would be getting?
Sure, so the pairs are 3% year over year, and the teachers are 5 and 2. So 5% year 1, 2% year 2.
Jody, like, if you could clarify that just a little bit, not every teacher is going to get a 5% raise, correct? Is there some adjustment on the pay scale, yes or no?
The scale
It's based
itself.
on-
Yeah.
Yes,
The scale
it's based
itself
on
is-
steps, yes.
Right. But not every teacher is going to get a 5%. There was some gaps that had to be changed, right, to get us kind of in alignment better so we're not losing teachers?
Yes.
So we did rearrange, for lack of better words, or adjust the steps, on each of the contracts so that we could increase the pay of the lower steps to increase the, ability to hire.
Just for clarification to Jack Finley, Superintendent, the para contract has been restructured and condensed. So we don't have as many steps, we don't have as many categories. So that has also been more economized.
And yes,
Kelly, what are the percentages the other schools around the state are getting? Because 5%, I mean, you don't hear about that out there in the working world ever anymore. You're like 1 or 2% everybody gets, so.
It is not typical to have 5%, but with that said, there have been, over the last couple of years, in the first year of the contract, sometimes there is a higher percentage to try to get them in line with market value with the other teachers or staff throughout the state. So that's why you'll see, that's why it's down to like 2% the following year. It's not such a dramatic. We've also seen some where you may have a high and then you get a 2 and then the third year maybe there's nothing. And Allenstown actually has done that in the past where they've done a 0% increase in one of the years. The one problem that happens with is then you end up having to do a market adjustment again down the line because you've had to now stack the year. So to prevent that from happening, hopefully market adjustment now and then it can be stabilized moving forward.
Is this the norm in other contracts in the state of New Hampshire?
It is.
I'd like to say something to that also. The town had to do that too when we reevaluate in order to keep people. I mean, we had to end up giving raises, you know, to catch people up to, they weren't in line with other, not just with other towns, but with also competing against other organizations as well. In order to keep the people, we had to do that, reevaluate, bring people up to what the appropriate pay would be. And that's what you have to do to keep the good people, fortunately. Well, fortunately also.
and I'm sure there are a lot of staff members, these certified teachers, for example, that have maxed out their steps.
We have a lot of people on the top.
So they're
steps.
not getting the step, they're just getting,
The percentage.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for the school?
Melaine, I have a question.
Yes.
So on Article 6, the employee health expendable trust fund, did I hear correctly that there would be no amount raised from taxation?
That's correct.
It's not noted there. The other part of my question is, why is it not noted when there would be a tax impact?
Article 6 is actually to establish the trust fund.
Okay.
Because we don't currently have it, so it's to establish it. The following article would fund it, and it would fund it from utilized surplus should there be any.
All right, I did miss that word. But there are articles that seemingly would have a tax impact. They don't say there's no money against that.
The only articles that have a tax impact are Article 1, 2, and 4.
And why is that tax impact not listed? I think the voters would like to see that.
I think that's-
Transparency.
I believe that's the school board.
And I think that's something that actually may go on the ballot. It would have to go on the ballot in front of the voters. The voters would have to vote to adopt the reflection of that tax impact, which, as we know, and especially in the case of schools, DRA is very hesitant for communities to do that because it is a loose base estimate. So it sometimes gives a false sense of security to voters who come in and see that projected tax impact, and then in actuality, it does not pan out that way. I mean, they try to make it a reasonable estimate, but it's not an exact science, unfortunately. There are a lot of moving variables that they can't foresee during this part of the year as they're trying to get into those actual operating months ahead.
Right. We do provide an estimated tax rate for next year based off of the current information we know, what we propose, and what the current valuation is. But we don't know what valuation is gonna be next year. We don't know if there's gonna be any surplus from this year that's gonna be utilized to offset next year. So there are a couple variables that are unknown, so it's estimated. I will say in all the years I've been here, it is very infrequent that the estimate that we provide, that we have gone over them. I don't even know that I can think of a time. It's usually always come under. Because of the fact that if there is any money given back to offset taxes or the valuation changes.
For the
it has been below.
population.
Yeah. So there are several variables, and that's why it's always considered estimated tax impact for that reason. So I agree, it does give a false You know, somebody may make a decision not to vote for it because they're like, oh, my taxes are gonna go up $1 or whatever, and in reality, they may go up 76 cents. Not that that's still not a lot, but not as significant.
But if the voters didn't want to see that, could the the school board add that warrant article on at this point in time? Or could a petition warrant article be done for that if it was something that made the voters feel warm and
There is
fuzzy
still
inside
time
the
to
city?
add warrant articles to the ballot.
Keith, do you have anything to add?
The only thing that I'd like to add is, the school board will have 2 open positions, in March. And at the end of January is the declaration of candidacy. So, we would love to go ahead and see some more people get involved because we do have 2 open positions. And both of those people have said they most likely are not going to go ahead and run again. So we're looking for 2 more people to join our school board.
Okay, thank you.
You too could have a lot of fun at these meetings.
Any other questions of the school? Jack?
I just want to state one correction, because we received legal advice yesterday, and it's a revision to the first warrant article.
Yes.
So there was a new law that was passed stating that we had to do the average cost per pupil and the scores. It actually has to be listed immediately before the budget warrant article, so that I'm going to take those 2 sentences out and just list it above. So I just want to make that clear. The value within the warrant article won't change. I just have to take that out.
Okay.
It'll still be listed just above.
Yep.
What can we note there?
So right on Article 1.
Article 1.
Yep, so what should happen is there should be the first, like, sentence, I don't even know if it's all one sentence. One sentence basically will be pulled out of Article 1. It'll be put directly above it, and then Article 1 will start with shall.
Yep, shall the Allenstown School District.
So just typically, like the warrant article has always been read, that's what it will state. So the verbiage will change. Or the
Okay,
article
just
will-
a comment, of the 25,289.82 cost per pupil, I'm gonna throw it out there, because I think people really need to know. You know, how much is the state paying towards this?
Not much.
Do we have a
Although,
ballpark?
I mean, Allenstown gets comparative, I'm only comparing to the rest of our school districts within our SAU. The adequacy aid is higher than, but the need is higher, which is why.
Right, any other questions of the school? Okay, no other questions, so we will we're gonna adjourn the school portion, then we'll go into the town. And we will start at, let's see, we're gonna skip through all of the zoning ordinances. And we'll go right to page, I don't know what page it is, but it's Article 15. So again, I will read them, we will open it up for questions afterwards with the department heads. So Article 15, to see if the town, so please make notes as we go through so that you'll know, where you are when you have your questions. To see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to rescind the remaining unissued portion of the store bond authorized by warrant Article 13 in 2015, that authorized the issuance of not more than $30,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, for the purpose of defraying the cost of planning relative to public facilities through the previously established asset management plan developed project for the town of Allenstown wastewater collection and treatment center. The unissued amount to be rescinded is $10,458. 3/5, 2/3 ballot vote required for that. Article 16, to rescind authorized but unissued debt. To see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to rescind, is this the same thing? Oh, no. See if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to rescind the remaining unissued portion of the stormwater asset management plan bond authorized by warrant Article 15 in 2019, that authorized the issuance of not more than $30,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, for the purpose of performing asset management for the town's stormwater collection system and public works department. The issued amount to be rescinded is $1,476. And then, let's see. Article 17 is to discontinue the library capital reserve fund. To see if the town of the town will vote to discontinue the library capital reserve fund created with Article 17 in 2017. Said funds with accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the town of Allenstown's general fund. Majority vote required. Article 18.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't remember hearing that.
It's Article 17.
To discontinue the library?
Library capital reserve fund.
Reserve fund?
These were brought up during the 2024 audit. It's to clean the financial books. These have just been sitting in our balance sheets, and the auditors requested that we put these 3 warrant articles in to clean up these funds.
But we utilize our capital reserve fund. If the library discontinues that capital reserve fund, they're essentially turning the money over to the town and no longer have access to those funds. And I didn't know if the library trustees would be the ones that would make that decision.
Okay, this was a recommendation by the auditors. We can talk about it Monday at the board meeting, and then I can go back to the auditors to see if that would affect that.
Okay. Sorry if I perked up abruptly, but
No.
Thank you.
Are you good, Kathleen?
I'm good.
Okay. Article 18, the town operating budget. Shall the town of Allenstown raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $5,555,750. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $5,259,603, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Allenstown or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:1310 and 16 to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. It's recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 2, 1, and 0, and recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9, 1, and 0. Estimated tax impact per 1,000 of assessed value on the operating budget is $10.44. Estimated current year tax impact per 1,000 of assessed default budget is $9.88. Article 19, the sewer operating budget. Shall the town of Allenstown raise and appropriate as an operating budget for the Allenstown Sewer Commission, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $2,869,175. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $2,817,291, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous actions of the town of Allenstown or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:1310 and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. This article does not impact the tax rate, and a majority vote is required. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, recommended by the Budget Committee, both unanimously. The estimated current year tax impact per 1,000 of assessed value for the operating budget is 0, and the tax impact for a default budget is 0, because the SOAR budget is paid by the users and not the town. Okay. Article 20, the SOAR Department Emergency and Special Projects Non-Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to establish a fund to be known as the SOAR Department Emergency and Special Projects non-capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1-C for the purpose of covering unforeseen operating contingencies and special non-capital projects related to the treatment and disposal of municipal wastewater in order to protect the source system and ratepayers from unexpected costs, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $295,000 to be placed in said fund, with said fund to come from the unassigned SOAR fund balance, surplus from prior years, no amounts to be raised by taxation, and further to designate the SOAR commissioners as agents to expend from said fund. It's unanimous with the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee, both recommend. And the estimated tax impact is $0. The Town Contingency Fund, Article 21, to see if the town will vote to establish a contingency fund per RSA 31:98-A to be used for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate $50,000 to put in the fund. This sum to come from taxation. Any appropriations left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund. Majority vote is required. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 3-0-0, and recommended by the Budget Committee with a vote of 6-4-0. Estimated current tax impact per 1,000 of assessed value is 9 cents. And then the other three are tabled, but I'm gonna go over them right now. The Budget Committee will be voting on these after this meeting. Article 22, shall we modify the provisions of the previously adopted RSA 72:35 to increase the current tax credit of $2,000 to the minimum allowable tax credit of $2,500 for a service-connected total disability on residential properties. The explanation to this is this credit is for any person who has been honorably discharged or an officer honorably separated from the military service of the United States and who has total and permanent service-connected injury, or the surviving spouse of such a person. Due to a change in legislative HB 99 regarding the tax credit for veterans with a service-connected total and permanent disability. The primary changes including increasing the maximum optional credit amount and prohibiting the stacking of certain veterans' tax credits. It's recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Let's see. Article 23 is, shall the town of Allenstown vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $450,000 to be added to the operating budget for the purposes of solid waste collection and disposal for Allenstown residents. The majority vote is required. This is a petitioned warrant article. The estimated current year tax impact for 1,000 of assessed value is 85 cents. The board, Kathleen, do you want to just pipe in on this a little? This is going to be amended.
That's going to be amended. So that's a petition warrant article, and at the time that I drafted the petition, it was April of last year, and we had just ceased our trash operations. The previous year's budget had about 350. So I knew that we were canceling a contract that we were not going to be able to renegotiate those terms again. So I anticipated that if we moved forward, we would see an increase in our contract cost most likely. We also weren't sure what the repercussions would be of closing the transfer station. Would we lose licenses? Were there going to be new startup costs entailed as a result of the closure? So I wanted to make sure I put in an amount that would satisfy all of those potential financial needs. Now, as we approach this March and our upcoming election cycle, the road agent has done a lot of research on what the current trash market looks like and what our actual cost would be to either reopen the transfer station only or to open the transfer station and resume curbside. To just open the transfer station, he's determined that it would cost the taxpayers about $150,000, which is a substantial decrease from the $450,000.
Okay, so
if the town wanted to resume curbside pickup as well, his estimate is that we could do that for about $350,000. So what I plan on doing at the deliberative, and I will advertise this as heavily possible as I can on Facebook and through other mechanisms, is I will propose changing the warrant article, amending it first for maybe the 350, see how many of the voters are in agreement with that, would like to see both resume. Then I can propose an amendment for the 150. Whichever one gets the majority will be the amendment that goes on the ballot. Then in March, it will be up to the voters to decide whether or not they want to adopt that warrant article. And I would like to note that we did find out throughout the year that according to DES, we are violating law by not having a transfer station. So I'm hoping the taxpayers will realize, and I think they do, we got 500 signatures on the petition, that at least opening a transfer station is really in our best interest.
So we'll get back to that. We will get back to that. I just wanted you, because I'm looking at the
Yes, 'cause
450
it is
number,
gonna
we had
change.
talked that it would be amended to 150.
Yeah, and I
which is-
think the tax impact of the 150 was like 25, 26 cents.
Right, but we'll get back into it in more detail. I just want to continue going over these warrant articles. The other one, Article 24, shall the town of Allenstown vote to establish a revolving fund pursuant to RSA 31:95-H for the purpose of facilitating, maintaining, or encouraging recycling as defined in RSA 149-M:4. All revenues received for solid waste services for fees, charges, or other income derived from the activities or services supported by the fund shall be deposited into the fund, and the money in the fund shall be allowed to accumulate from year to year, and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund balance. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the solid waste recycling fund. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the governing body, and no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend. Such funds may be expended only for the purposes for which the fund was created. The majority vote is required, and this is also a petitioned warrant article.
Can I speak to that one, because that one's gonna be amended as well, Maureen? So I just want to explain that. At the time that that was drafted, prior to us ceasing all trash operations in Allenstown, we had cut out recycling because the costs were just too exorbitant. We were trying to save trash, really. So there was a lot of, I don't want to say backlash, but concerned citizens who really wanted to still recycle. So Chad tried to accommodate that with putting in the recycling dumpsters. We did still have our contract with Casella, who was willing to work with us in that capacity. My intentions with this warrant article is if there is a significant portion of the population that would like to return to recycling, this would give us a mechanism to go ahead and raise the funds for that, mostly through recycling itself. We need that initial seed money, that $25,000, to get the dumpsters, the programming up in place and running. The intention with this fund, again, it's a revolving fund. My intention would be that it would be temporary. We would run this fund just to see if we're successful. Are we able to implement programming for recycling that is sustainable, that isn't gonna hit the taxpayers, and that we can move forward with? If we determine that we can't, if whatever changes in the landscape and we assess the situation and say this just isn't gonna be feasible, we could discontinue that fund, even if we find we're successful. Once we map out what those costs are and we understand how it's gonna impact our budget, we could also get rid of that fund and move it into the general budget. I just think it's a helpful tool when you're first starting a new endeavor to really help you keep an eye on all associated costs. That being said, when I did the warrant article, I was anticipating having unassigned fund balance that we could use to fund that. We still have not completed our 2024 audit, and our auditors have recommended that we not fund anything from unassigned fund balance because we don't know what that balance is. So at the deliberative session, I did plan to amend that to change the $25,000 to
Raised from taxation.
Raised from taxation. And again, this is something you absolutely don't have to support. If you don't want to raise that $25,000, maybe it's something you don't support this year because it comes from taxation, but you would if it came from unassigned fund balance in the future, or maybe you just think we're chasing a rabbit hole we shouldn't be. It's up to the voters. My point in doing this petition warrant article was to get it on the ballot so that you decide.
Which one is that, what number?
The recycling revolving fund.
Article 24.
21.
Okay, so those are the warrant articles. So I'm gonna open it up for discussion for anything. Anything is on the table here, whatever you'd like to talk about. Yes, Mike?
Mike Croswell, the current proposed budget, 5.5
Mike, could you just please talk a little louder, please?
Yeah, the proposed budget this year for 5.5 million compares well with the 2025 default budget of 5.5. This year's budget is 1% more than last year's default budget. But the tax rate is stipulated, last year, the final tax rate was 761, and I'm wondering why this year's tax rate is 1044. It's a big jump for a 1% increase in the budget. What's that cost?
John, do you want to address that?
The valuation of the town changes. It's based on the valuation. Last year's valuation of the town property was a different number. This is comparing this year's value.
Any other questions? Any of the budget items? Yes.
So
Yeah.
just, what is the reason for the increase of the 300,000 over the default?
Okay, so we can go through the budget worksheets. So if you go to the budget worksheet, that should be in that packet. And what we can do is just go through all of them. And then you'll see where the changes are.
Does it reveal each individual department's increase in their budget?
Yes.
If you could start there and then maybe.
Well, I'm gonna go with
Specific.
any line item that has a change.
An increase?
An increase or a decrease.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you go to,
Will you be reading everything before and then ask questions, or are you doing one by one?
well, the question right now is why the increase of $300,000? So I'm going to go through each budget and point out where the increases are.
And if there's a question, we can ask it then, or do we have to wait?
You can ask it then.
Thank you.
Could you say your name, please?
Jim Moser.
Okay, so we're gonna start, page 1, so it's page 1 of 24. And we're in the town, yeah. And it's the budget worksheets. So the general government executive, the general fund, okay, so executive, so there's an increase, so you'll see how this is, you'll see why, I'm gonna explain how these budgets are so that you'll get to it. So the first column is CY budget, that's what they've been working on, that was last year's budget. CY, current year actual, is what they expensed. The department request is for $9,750. And then the Board of Selectmen Municipal Budget Committee, $10,140, that's what the proposal is. So, and just to kind of go over it so you'll know as we go through, I won't go through all this with every single line item. But the very first one, it was $97.50, it's going to $10,140, which is an increase of $390. That's how it, and we'll go through each budget, okay? The minutes transcription, there's also a comment down below on why the increase or the decrease or whatever change. It was 38, so that's level funded at 38. Go down to executive trustee of trust funds. That's a decrease of $2,500 from prior year. Administrative salaries is a decrease of $9,300. And then you have very small increases to overtime, and then town report printing is up $200. Copier lease is up $1,000. Are you all following me where I'm getting these numbers? Okay. Telephone modem is up $900. Everything else stays the same. So overall, now we're on the next page, page 2. Executive IT services, that's up $9,900. So bottom line for the executive budget.
Down.
It's down $9,900, yes. It's down $19,194. You see where I'm getting that number? Yes. Okay. Election registration and vital statistics. You've got contracted services is down $19.99. Computer software is up $3,000. Supervisors of the checklist is up $164. Voting machine down $4,900. Election ballot clerk salary is down 16, and a lot of this is because we had more elections last year, we had the presidential. Election printing is down 2,800. Booths and polling places down 700, an increase of moderator salary to 139. So election registration and vital statistics is down overall $5,905. Financial administration, so there's, let's see, finance director is down 88,839. Finance clerk is up 69,472. Contracted services is up 3560, and that's the MRI person, right? And then the next page, tax collection salaries, that's up 1199. Computer software for town hall is down 3,100. Tax dues and subscriptions is down 400. Slight increase to finance treasurer's salary by $137. So overall, the finance budget is up $13,969.
I have a question.
Yes.
We've been advertising, I don't know if it's still advertised, for a finance director. So for next year, we are not gonna be looking for a financial director. We're still gonna be using MRI.
We have not been advertising for a finance director. I personally passionately feel we should, but
I thought
the
we
board
were.
voted no. They do not want a full-time finance director.
It was decided to maintain current status for another year.
Using MRI.
Yes.
And how much are we paying for MRI?
MRI.
5,000.
I think it's 86 an hour.
35,600. Says MRI contractor, 6 hours a week, blah, blah. 35,600.
The budget for
38.6.
Oh, that's the increase.
We plan on,
Oh, it's
we plan on
106.
decreasing our
Yeah,
MRI use. Like, is it once a month that you're gonna be? So currently, we've been having someone come in every 2 days a week or weekly. And they are going to reduce that to once a month.
And the person that's trying to get us caught up on our audits, is that coming out of this? Is it the same guy from MRI?
Yes.
That's,
Yes, but that's been happening through this past year's budget, the budget we're currently in.
Right.
Hopefully, we will have those audits done. I believe they're just about wrapped up right now.
We are caught up. They
So
just
20
finished 2024,
Yeah.
they're beginning 2025, so we're right on schedule.
thank you.
You're welcome.
But I do, just a note, if you find the right person, having an in-house 40 hours a week finance director is, if we don't know finance, which myself, maybe a little, I take numbers out of the sky, like a lot of people, finance
Okay.
director would help us a lot.
There's a benefit to having a finance director.
Oh, Louise, you're
Having the
so.
right person.
Right.
So when we were discussing, when we were discussing this, that's the balance we had to think about right now, because what the town has gone through in the past, in order now to get ourselves caught up, we have using contracted services, right? We are back up where we are right now, being caught up. So maintaining that for a year, it makes a lot more sense, so we can see where we're at, what we're doing, and then we have to analyze it and see, is it more effective to keep with this, as other towns have used before, the contracted services? And they're familiar with our town, they got us back up here, or does it make more sense for the town to invest in getting another professional finance director in here, right? But again, we have to find the right person, because you know what happens when you have the wrong person in there, correct? And then we also have to understand that finding the right person is gonna cost money. So that's what we do, so in order to, it makes sense to keep a year contracted services, see where we're at, we're back online, we're back to where we're supposed to be, and then we can go from there. That's why I think we wanted to keep it online with using the contracted services. Does that kind of make sense? What we're at? I think that's all I have.
Okay, reevaluation of property, that is a $3,500 increase. So it's $8,500 that's up for contracted services, and then it's reduced by computer software is down $5,000, so the net effect is $3,500 increase. Next page is legal expenses. You'll see on here, it's up $10,000, from prior year, because you'll see it was $40,000, we expensed $88,105.64. So we kind of bumped that up to $10,000, by $10,000. Personnel administration, so this is where you're getting all of your health, dental, social security, Medicare, all of that good stuff. There's a decrease of $63,300 in health insurance. Dental insurance is down by $6,800. Health reimbursement accounts are down by $15,000. Group life is up $2,900. Social security is up $65.90. Medicare is up $35.11. Employment retirement is up $13,925. Police retirement is up $48,455. Fire retirement is up $28,838. Town administrator retirement is down $13,799. Unemployment compensation is down $120. Workers' compensation is up $13,650. So the net effect, that budget in its entirety is up $18,850. Planning and zoning. Let's see, planning and zoning is up $64 from prior year. And that was, minute transcription is $16 and $48. They're all minute transcriptions. General government buildings. So we have, let's see here. Custodian salary is up $305. Part-time facility supervisors, $23,920. That's a new position. ARD, government buildings, is down $10,000. We no longer own that building. Government repairs and maintenance is up $1,000. Heat and gas is up $1,000. And then you have the AES is up $1,950. So the bottom line, it's up $18,175. It's a total budget for general government buildings.
I have a question.
Go.
On the facility supervisor, we have it here. And I go through the budget and we have other facility employees, janitors, so on, for the Boys and Girls Club, for the future town hall. And I know we have a new position, and that gentleman is doing a fantastic job. But how do we find out who's doing what? Because it says, and I'm told, Boys and Girls Club, we don't pay to clean that place. But if you look at the budget, it says
We don't pay to have it cleaned, but if something breaks down there, it's our responsibility.
I believe we do pay to have it cleaned, but
it says
we
we're
give them
paying-
money for that. They hire their own cleaner.
Exactly.
So we get the money back
24.
from the Boys and Girls, we're paying for the Boys and Girls Club to be cleaned.
John, can you?
The Boys and Girls Club is in a 99-year contract with the town of Allenstown. We're responsible for the entire operation of the building, the facility maintenance, the facility upkeep. They contract with their own cleaners to clean the building. It's not a town employee, but we do end up paying that bill. The facility supervisor is only 15 hours a week to take care of minor repairs throughout any town-owned building. That's their only operation. We have one very part-time custodial person that does the police department, town hall, and the pre-K down at AES, which we are contracted to do part of the lease. That's all we have for building maintenance right now.
I was just reading the
Not a
notes.
problem.
I was reading the notes, how many people we got, you know? And I know we have a new man that's.
And that facility supervisor position, those funds are actually redirected from the building inspector's full-time salary. So it's moving money from one department to another. There's been no increase. You'll see when we get down to the building inspector, there's a decrease almost in that same amount.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next page, cemeteries, it level funded at $10. Just saying. Okay, insurance not otherwise allocated, property insurance, that's an increase of $62,000. So for the entire budget, that line, that budget in itself is up $62,000. Advertising and regional association is down $2,000. Public safety, police. Okay, so you have an increase in your support staff salaries of $1,960. IT services is up $400. Computer and software is up $3,100. Radar, that's that level funded. Vehicle repairs is up $3,500. Telephone modems is up $2,500. Cell phones is $1,700. Increase recruitment hiring is up $1,000. Dues and subscriptions is up $3,550. Tuition and training is up $1,000. Training supplies is up $3,000. Postage is down $100. Gasoline is down $2,000. Uniforms for the police department is up $1,500. Full-time salaries is up $59,545, and that's represented by a 2% COLA and a 2% step. The SRO, which is the school resource officer, is up $5,029. Police department overtime is up $22,600. Special ops unit is up $500. Police department water's down $200. The heat is up $400. Electric is up $3,800. So overall, for the public safety police department, the budget in its entirety is up $112,784. No Beth is here to answer any questions, but I will tell you that this police department budget has been underfunded for several years. So I'm just gonna, yes.
Jim Bovier, can we have some knowledge of where we stand right now with our police department? Are we fully staffed? We have anybody in school?
Nobody's in school right now, so that's good. We have 3 brand new officers that are now off their field training. We're technically down 1 full-time position currently, in terms of an actual body in the building being paid for. Chief Stark position has not officially been backed up yet.
So
we have 11 officers, from the top down, including the school resource officer. So we technically we're at 10 right now.
And are you advertising for?
Not yet, but I hope to, plan to.
And it is in your budget?
Yes.
To fund that?
Yep.
Position?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the police department? Okay, ambulance, this ambulance line is down $186,750 because that's what was budgeted, but as you know, the ambulance line is now part of the fire department. So this kind of washes itself out. Going to the fire department, full-time salaries, it's up $114,253. Administration's up $41,040. The per diem is up $53,057, and that is as people take vacations and so forth, it's the fill-ins, correct, Eric?
Yeah, it actually covers 1 shift.
Okay. Detail is up $120. Fire inspectors up $20,332. Contracted services is up $13,000. That's contract, that mutual aid, the contract for mutual aid.
Contracted services, billing and paramedics.
Okay. Computer software is up $2,000. Cell phones up $1,000. Office supplies are up 2,000. Part-time salaries up 4,400. Overtime coverage is down $11,460. Equipment testing for fire equipment is up 2,000. Gasoline and diesel is up 2,700. And then training outside training is up 2,500. Radio maintenance up 2,000. Telephone pagers up 1,300. Fire dispatch, that's your mutual aid, right? Capital area mutual aid is up 7,000. That's a contract. Municipal hydrants up 1,000. EMS supplies up 3,000. So the difference is it's an increase overall in the fire department. Keep in mind that includes the 186. The fire and ambulance are now one, and it's up $261,232. Yes.
Jim Moore here. For the fire department, I think they're doing an excellent job. It's a lot of money what we have. I like it, but I don't like it. And on some of these things here, like ambulance, ladder truck, I thought that was coming out, or is this wrong? I thought that was coming out of your surplus. You know what I call it.
The revolving
The
fund.
revolving fund. You know what I call it, but it's a revolving fund.
We don't care what you
First
call it.
question is, I'd like to know the status of your personnel right now, what you have, what you're supposed to have, and then hopefully you have how much, where I can find how much you have in that revolving fund, and then explaining what has been spent out of that. I still can't get that. And because I heard the salaries being taken out of that line, there's a lot of things, but why in this budget is your ambulance and ladder truck leases being taken out of that when it should come out of your revolving fund?
So, just a point of clarification, because it's a bit deceiving, as Elaine had said. When you
So
look at
Eric, excuse me, Eric, I'm gonna ask if you can get closer to the, because you have a
This is
soft
just
voice.
information so everybody out there knows what's
So,
going on.
Just
the
talk
best
loud.
explanation for this is, and a lot of people don't, it's a bit deceiving. She told you about that line there that says $186,750, right? So when we transitioned from Charlottetown EMS into the fire department, taking over the ambulance service in 2024, that budget had a half year of what the ambulance expenses were, and then it had the fire department budget. So the proposal last year, which defaulted, was to combine those together. So when you look at the number here that says $261,232 increase, it's actually deceiving. So if you take the $186,750 and you subtract it from the 261, you're gonna see $67,000 difference, I think is the total, around there, 74. So that's the actual increase of what happens with the budget. The fault is we couldn't crunch it all together. If we crunched it together, it would be easier understood. So at this time, so I'm not sure if you want I have a PowerPoint thing if we need more information, but to your point, right now we operate the ambulance with 2 people. And those 2 people are certified in both the fire department and the ambulance. Before, we only had ambulance and we had a separate fire department. We used to staff 2 full-time people during the day from 8 to 5, and that was it. If it was after 5 o'clock and before 8 o'clock on a weekday, the odds of you getting a fire truck out the door was very slim, and we relied a lot on mutual aid. So the ambulance service was covered by Tri-Town, and it had 2 people by state rule. We have to, by law, have 2 certified EMS providers on an ambulance to transport to the hospital. The way that the department operates right now is we run, you would think if we run 4 shifts, and basically those people work 24-hour shifts, so they work a day on, 2 days off, a day on, 4 days off, and they all rotate in between that on an 8-day cycle. Right, those people can do both jobs. So if a fire truck needs to go out the door, a fire truck can go out. If an ambulance needs to go out, an ambulance goes out. So you would think common sense would be that I would have 8 full-time employees, but we don't. When we agreed to go over to take over the primary service, when we worked with the board, we said that we want our members of the fire department who are still there to still be able to participate, because what usually happens is when you hire full-time staff, the call department dwindles, or per diem people dwindle, and then you don't have the staff that you need. So when we created the original plan, we decided to hire 6 full-time people. And then 1 shift, or 1 tour, which is 2 24s a week on average. Those are given to or hired out to be per diem people. And they could be from Allenstown, they could be not be from Allenstown, it could be a call member. So they ride that shift. Right now, we have 2 people who are dedicated to a per diem shift a week. And then 2 other shifts that are opened up for call members and other people. So that's how the staff goes. So there's only 8 people that work. That is the bare minimum of what we need to be able to run the fire department.
And we are fully staffed now.
We are not fully staffed. Right now, we had a lieutenant who left for another town, and that shift is being, as of right now, being filled by additional per diem people until such time an individual like the police academy gets the education done so we can put him into that position.
And you have that position in your budget?
It is in the budget, yes. So that position is in the budget and is covered. And understand that last year, we were budgeted for $871,000 is what the proposed was for the budget. Obviously, we defaulted and we went down to $803,000. So this year, you'll see the increase is about 74. So it's about the same as the last year, and that was after the fact that the board voted to do, obviously, the wage scale increases to keep us competitive with surrounding communities. And to your question about the fund, so everybody knows, and I think, yeah, this is the hard part. So we do.
The question was, is your ambulance lease and your fire truck lease coming out of taxpayers, or is it coming out of your fund?
That's what I'm getting to right now. I'm gonna explain how our revolving fund works. Much like the proposed revolving fund for recycling and other things, is basically the RSA's and state interest that the fire department and municipalities can use certain revolving funds to collect revenue and then use that revenue to offset services. So in 2023, we passed a warrant article for an emergency services revolving fund. And what that means is any revenues that come in from the ambulance service or the fire department gets put into that fund. So essentially, those funds are not coming from the taxpayer. Those are coming from insurance companies, vendors that are installing, like Hillsbrook, when they build a facility and they actually do a system, the revenues come in there, right? And what we use those funds for, and that fund is specifically designed to use the operational needs of the fire department / ambulance service. So when we decided to take over the ambulance service, the decision was made that we would fund, instead of the taxpayers having to pay for the ambulances, the equipment on the ambulance, some of that fund would pay for those larger capital items. So the ambulance is leased, and it is paid for out of those funds from insurance companies, not from the taxpayer. The cardiac monitors, which some of them go to the tune of $60,000, those are paid for out of that fund, so it doesn't go to the taxpayer. On top of that is, by board approval, you can use those funds for salaries, you can use it for other equipment to manage the service, okay? So last year, we spent about $243,000 out of that fund to offset the funds to the service. And keep in mind, when you look at operating an ambulance service, the cost of running an ambulance service is about $1 million. And the reason why when we took over as an ambulance service rather than paying for just an EMS service was we could take in those revenues and we wouldn't spend so much. If you go next door this year, their budget is about $1.5 million for both services. We're going to be able to provide the service in-house as one department for about $877,000.
853, 459.
Well, I don't know if the raises affected that, but yes. So essentially, those funds are being used to offset those things. And the ladder truck, that was a used ladder truck that was bought with grant funds, and a portion of that, as when they split up all the grant funds, the select board did from the COVID grants, that helped all the town's departments get some projects completed. The highway department got some for their highway garage. We got a good portion for the aerial truck, which we need by ISO standards. And then the balance of that, which was a 6-year lease, which is only $22,000, is paid for from the capital outlay line, which was already in the budget.
But why does it show up in here?
That's your capital outlay line is in there, that's not the same account. So the capital outlay line for vehicles, much like the police and the highway department, like, they pay for, a dump truck and police cruisers out of the capital outlay line, and that's in there every single year. And it's based on what the lease payment is. That was already in there from prior vehicles, that we had bought, and the line never changed. We just used that to continue a 6-year lease to buy the ladder truck, which we got a super deal on for $295,000, which this day and age would be $2.7 million. So we were able to use that.
I'm just gonna take note, because we have another meeting coming.
Yeah.
And this is the first time, my wife might sit on the board, but she don't give me this stuff to research.
I tell them to come to the meetings.
Yeah.
So
this year-
my thing is.
You wanna know what's going on, go to the meeting.
My thing is, if it's in here, that comes off this bottom line, it should come out of here and be in your revolving fund.
So it's good you bring that up. So when you talk about the
And then your revolving fund, so I don't lose track, I lose track very easily. You have money, but you got your final check from Pembroke.
Yeah.
Now, I felt that money that we came from Pembroke, and you guys are doing a terrific job, I'm not cutting your department down, but that money that Pembroke sent us was taxpayers' money that we sent Pembroke for Tri-Town. So that money should have came back to the Board of Selectmen to use as, offsetting different budgets and not going in your revolving fund, but it was taxpayers' money that came back to Allenstown from Pembroke.
True, very true. But
And-
under the rules of the RSA,
402,000.
So.
You know, it's just, my
So-
feeling is that was taxpayer money
So,
and not the revolving fund money.
so
Okay,
under the
let's wait
RSA,
for the answer.
so under the RSA, when you have revenue coming in from an ambulance service, it was paid to the town of Pembroke, but it's being paid back to the town of Allenstown as revenues from EMS. Part of their fund that they had there too was what we paid, but they collected building revenue just like we did before, and that money was in the fund, so that comes back. So under the RSAs and under the laws, that money has to come back into, if we established an RSA for EMS for what, money comes back into that, and it has to go into that account. Do we use it? And the plan, as we've talked about before, is this year I have $176,000 slated, if the budget passes, to use for the revolving fund. If we go to default, we may have to pull a little bit more. The other reason for that, the funds going into that account is the average ambulance cost for fire truck now, the ambulance we just bought was $457,000. With an average 4% increase over a year, you're looking at our next ambulance in 7 years being close to $500,000. A fire truck right now, to buy a pumper truck in 2004, engine 3 cost $234,000. Now you're looking at $983,000 to buy a standard fire truck. So the point of the funds staying in that account, which is a capital reserve fund, but it's an escrow account, so the board has the ability to vote to spend money out of it and how it's spent. So the initial plan that we had set up is all of that money that goes in there from insurance companies, if we leave it in there, like a capital reserve that's funded by unassigned fund balance and or from taxation, we can now, when the time comes to buy a $900,000 fire truck, we can offset those costs. Or when it comes to buying another ambulance like we do right now, instead of coming to the taxpayers and hitting them with a burden and spiking their taxes and making them pay more, the insurance companies will put the money in that account and we will use that money to buy those vehicles instead of paying the taxpayers. So in the essence of making the ambulance service self-sufficient, it will never run the overall budget of the fire department. It will never take enough. They did pass House Bill, Senate Bill 245, which takes effect at the end of the month. Hopefully will bring us up and have more revenue and then bring it to the point where we can offset the fire department budget and the ambulance budget in the future. But we don't know where that is at yet. We have to wait to see how it's gonna come out. If it stays after the 2 years, then bonus for us. If it goes back to normal, then we're back to where we are now. We
On your billing system.
Yep.
Not what you have billed, but what you have taken in that's in the bank. What is the percentage for this year, the year's done, that you collected and what was not
So,
collected,
I will
that
give
you
you-
had to write off?
I will give you the answer to this year, probably in about a week, because I should get the numbers from them. As of November, we had billed out a significant amount, and the collection rate was about 37% this year, which is usually a natural average when you look at it, and when you factor the budgets, that's what I project out as, believe it or not, nationwide is 31%. We are actually, in Allenstown, based on, we've actually done a little bit better this year. So we made, the last time I checked, it was about 264,000, and I should have the final numbers at the end of the year, hopefully soon, from the billing company. And we spent about 243, so there wasn't a lot of room where we made a lot of money this year because we went to default. We had to utilize that fund to make it so
But
we
you'll
could
have,
the service
you'll
fund.
have my answer, at next meeting, the percentage.
Yeah.
You know, if you build $100,000 out, you only got 32,000.
I can tell you that we probably built out about a
I'm just
million.
using 100,000 and you got 32,000, that rest of that money is written off. It doesn't affect
Yep,
us
so-
as taxpayers.
That's correct.
But it affects your revolving fund.
It does, so we probably, and I'm guessing, but the last numbers was about $1 million that we filled out in ambulance revenue. And Ashland collected about 37% of that, about like I said, about 274, 264. And I don't know, at the end of the year, it might bring maybe 290, right? So that's what we plan on collecting every year. I don't plan on collecting $1 million because it's never gonna happen, it's fictitious. So when we do collect, that's what, Tri-Town, when we were over, when Tri-Town used to do it, they used to factor on us making about $180,000 a year. We've done a little bit better this year. We use a different billing company, we've collected a little bit more revenue. It doesn't mean we can go spend it, because if we're planning ourselves for the future as a town fiscally to look to the future, we wanna hold on to those funds, so us, the taxpayers, including myself, don't pay $1 million for a fire truck. We might be able to foot half the bill ourselves and pay for it, or pay for the ambulance 100%. Because ambulances last about 7 years, and then you gotta replace them. Well, I just actually did get the numbers from the Capital Area Mutual Aid Response District. We went from third from the bottom of 27 towns of responses to 7th. So we are one of the busier communities in the capital area, and that has reflected in our, the positive building revenues and the ability to cover that. I will say that when you look at our budget in general as a fire department, we are running on the leanest that we can, especially with default. Because if we don't collect, I use this for example, if we go to default, and to Melane's point with the default budget last year, the increase, we ran with our default budget last year, and then if you look at the numbers for the approved budget this year, it's about the same. So that's gonna make it so we sustain. There is a fear that if we go to default, that all the department heads are gonna advise that they need to look at their budgets. If we should go default and we reduce our staff by 1 shift, that's 2 days a week. It's about $1,800 a week that we would not collect, because if anybody's looked at the roster of the fire department, 90% of it is already in people that don't live in town. Call firefighters are virtually non-existent. We had a building fire on Ferry Street the other night, a porch fire about 3 weeks ago, and this is how many people showed up, including myself.
Did a good job.
That was a great
There was only
save.
2 of us, 2 full-timers there who put the fire out before it got too far, and then I showed up as the commander, and our surrounding communities were about 11 minutes behind. So they saved, and it could have been bad, because there was no other egress if that fire
Yeah, good
kept
job in
going.
Pembroke too.
Yeah, we were there first. So when you look at what we do as a fire department, if you take away that 1 shift, not to mention trucks getting out the door to protect our citizens, you're losing $1,800 a day, because we do about 2.6 calls a day on the average. You're losing $1,800 a day, it equates to be about $95,000 in building revenue a year. So when we look at these budgets and how we operate and passing the budget, I think the budget is reasonable in the town of Allenstown, but it could truly detrimentally affect myself, the police department, the highway department. So we utilize those funds, Jim, to the best that I can when it comes to.
And I think it's important to note that revolving funds were not ever established for the purposes of fully funding a
No,
department.
But
They're
that-
in
that's
place they're in place, for unanticipated, a cardiac monitor or,
No, they are intended for operational. If you read the RSA.
Not
they
100%.
can. Oh, absolutely. You can 100% use them. It's up to the municipality to decide if they want to use them as a savings. What most municipalities do is set up capital reserve accounts to save for those big expenses like fire trucks, which they can then fund out of unassigned fund balance where it really doesn't hit the taxpayers. I mean, it does in the previous years, but there are different ways to set up funds. There are different ways to structure and use funding and prepare and budget appropriately.
Yeah, and
But
one of the-
based
one of
on
the tough parts-
receivables.
I'm sorry,
No.
one of the tough parts is that unassigned fund balance does come from taxation the prior year. So if we have a surplus in the budget, essentially you're still paying for that. The nice part about a revolving fund is that's coming truly from the insurance companies. It's not coming from you as the individual taxpayer.
But if
So-
there was no revolving fund, that money still goes back to the taxpayers. It just goes via the general fund.
It does.
Doesn't sit, hold up, or it
It
can
does.
only be used for
And
that.
one of the
purpose. I think
struggles-
That's important.
And one of the struggles of that is, I spent 35 years in the business and working for a bigger community. One of the struggles of it coming back to the unassigned fund balance is we can't use that in the present time to offset it. We can move it to the capital reserve funds long-term, and we can save for that.
And what, RSA are you?
RSA 3195H.
H.
Yep, and if you look at that, it's set up for, it's used for things like municipalities when it comes to the revolving fund for recycling. The PD's work detail one is in the same stature, and the 501 or ambulance fire service ones, it's all into the same RSA.
And so, all of the public works, different departments run under this same RSA?
They can, yes, the town has to
And what's
approve
the
the warrant.
language? Is it a couple pages or is it?
It's a
We
revolving
can
fund.
Google it later.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
short,
then-
Jimmy. It's like one page. It's quick.
Yes, and so that's how it works, and yes, we do use that to offset some salaries. This year, it's for salaries, it's for EMS supplies, and for the contracted services for our billing. They charge us for every call we go on, it's about a 7%, 4 to 7% based on the skills that you've provided. And it's different levels from basic EMT to paramedic. And on top of that is paramedic intercepts being run at an advanced level right now, and then paramedics the next level up. So if we need one of those, if we call them from a neighboring community, or, and they come in, capital area, the town charges, this is a flat rate of $539 that we have to pay. So that line is for that, and the money is used to offset some of that, so.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just wanted to make sure I understood and people that aren't here understands, because,
I appreciate it very much.
thank you.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, moving right along. Okay, building inspection. So overall, the entire budget for building inspection is down $23,932. That's a decrease of the building inspector code enforcement officer of $32,796. Increase to the administrative salary of $67,64. Vehicle repairs of $1,800 and an increase in gasoline of $1,300. The net effect is a decrease of $23,932. Emergency management. That is an increase overall of $132. And that's from salaries at the top, emergency management director. And that's a 2% COLA and a 2% step. So all of the salary increases throughout the departments, correct me if I'm wrong, are a 2% step and a 2% COLA. Yes.
I have a question regarding that. So a wage salary study was done in 2025. Many employees got that. They also got a COLA. So this two-step COLA, this 2% COLA and the step, is that for the employees that didn't get anything in 2025, or is that an overall?
It's my understanding that's across the board, right? All employees are getting the 2% step and a 2% COLA.
So some employees, in fact, could have gotten 3 raises in 1 year, and other employees only got 1.
Well, this raise coming up is for the following year. This past year, because we went to a default, the board had decided not to give raises. Unfortunately, I know what you're referring to. We did have some department heads who came and either argued for entire departments or for certain employees to get raises, and it was voted. So essentially what did happen is that some employees were stuck with that frozen salary or pay rate, while others did get a raise. So this amount that's in here is not intended to compensate those employees who did not. It would just, all employees, again, moving forward in 2026 would get that standard COLA and stuff.
Okay, so in 2025, you do have employees that got a salary increase due to the,
Payroll analysis report.
correct, and then that same employee also got a raise.
Yes.
While you have employees that didn't get either. And I thought that we weren't gonna give any raises because we got an extra holiday. So now you've got employees that got a salary increase, a wage increase, an extra holiday, and other people got an extra holiday.
Unfortunately, that was up to the Board of Selectmen to make that vote. I understand your frustration, I see where you're coming from.
Not
Absolutely,
frustrating,
but
just
it's, yes, that
wanna
is the
make that
accurate
public
representation, yes, of the situation. You are correct.
Yeah, there were mid-year pay raises that went through, absolutely. Yes, there's a question in the back. Did you have your hand?
Kelly Crew, are the raises based on merit? Or they just get 2%?
So years ago, we had in-depth merit raises where the department heads would sit down, and it was quite an extensive and exhaustive questionnaire that they would go through with their employees, quite time consuming. What a lot of municipalities, and even the state, and I'm not saying right or wrong, but in the interest of saving time, you build up longevity, you get these, and municipal employees usually are making significantly less than they would in a private sector job. There's, the pros and balances. But what they've adopted are these pay scales where they go up, so you can know ahead of time. When you get hired, you can say, okay, I'm taking this job for $10 less an hour than I would make if I was in the private sector and if I was working over here. But I know every year I'm gonna get that 2% or 1%, most likely, because it's not a given. As we see, sometimes we go to a default year, employees may not receive that raise. But we found by adopting that raise mechanism, it helped us attract people, retain them. They knew what to expect. For our budgeting, we know what to expect. On a day-to-day basis, the department head should be watching their employees. If somebody's not cutting the mustard, if they're not doing a good job, I would hope and expect that our department heads would be monitoring that and weeding out those employees along the way. But that is not done through a merit review in the raise structure itself. It is just solely that cost of living and that steps. Current.
This person could be talked to, they could be written up, and then they could still get the 2% raise, right?
They could, but it is up to their department head could come to the board and say, I've been really having troubles with so-and-so. I do not think that we should. Right now, I have them on some type of plan. So behind the scenes, you don't see all the personnel conversations that are held. That's something the board handles privately or the department heads do, but that does happen.
So from personal experience in the past, if we have an issue employee or a problem employee, we put them on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, they do not get their step or raise that year.
Okay, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
because I know
So-
like from corporate America, it's all merit-based.
Yeah, yeah.
You go through this exhaustive process, and we
Yes.
have 25 employees in one team.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many you have, so that's why I'm asking, why is it merit-based? So I mean,
Yeah.
but okay, I understand what you're saying.
So,
If you do it a little differently.
We do.
Okay.
But I do understand, I think a lot of people have asked that question about the merit, and I know even within the budget committee and people involved in local are torn. There are people that feel like we should really be doing
Well, that's
more
the big
intense
standard out there.
reviews.
I know in corporate America, that's the big standard, is all merit-based.
Exactly, because it's not an incentive for people who are doing their work to
Right.
work even harder if everyone across the board is gonna get. So I'm one of those that,
Yeah.
I'm all about merit.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, highway and streets, any other questions? Okay, highway and streets administration, this is part of the highway department. So the bottom line for that line item is up $60,566. And it's kind of broken out, so cable internet, that's up 1,400, heat and oil is 500. You still use waste fuel, right, to heat?
yes,
Will the new building have that as well?
yes.
And highway salaries, again, 51,870, and that's the 2% COLA, 2% step.
And a large chunk of that is that administrative assistant, that was never in that line.
What line was she in before?
account, I don't know. But,
Is that the shared position?
yes.
Okay. Part-time salaries up $16.95, overtime is up $5,900, and plowing contractors are down $7.99, so the net effect is $60,566 increase.
I have a question.
State your name, please.
Jim Bovier, highway and streets, you went a little too fast there. We budgeted $170,000 this year. You actually spent zero. You're looking for $170 next year. So that $170 that we spent zero, was that money encumbered and to be used in 2026?
So it was directed, we were directed by the Board of Selectmen when we went to fall not to spend money out of that line. There was extra, it appears to be that there might be a little bit money extra at the end of this year, and if there is, there will be money encumbered.
Okay, so this 170, that was, you couldn't spend because of the default. That was your portion that you took out?
Correct.
And the dump?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So now I'm in highway and streets, where you'll see the 170.
Oh, sorry, I thought you already went.
I'm just making a comment.
Let's not start arguing today.
Okay, highway and streets. So, let's see. The total increase from prior year is $9,500, and that's, maintenance, cost of street sweeping. And there was something about the storm drains for that.
Right, so we sweep and we have to clean the storm drains, because of federal mandates. They have changed the mandate and said that you will now sweep twice a year. So hence the increase of $9,500 for the second sweeping.
Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
Questions? Streetlights, increase of $10,500. It was $8,000, we spent $10,017.08. The proposed is $18,500, which represents the $10,500, I know, yes, go.